In part one of Survival in the Outback with Malcolm Douglas, he travelled across Australia during the hottest months of the year. He showed many aspects of survival, how to find and collect water, different ways of making fire, and the hunting techniques of the desert Aborigines. Malcolm has learnt how to survive from 30 years of experience in the Outback. He now continues his journey in the far north of South Australia, heading for the Strzelecki track.
Now I'm in a real mess. This is what survival in the Outback's all about. Being prepared for anything. And obviously something's gone wrong right here. We've had a few thunderstorms around. I'm coming along this track, it's quite dry. Then all of a sudden, there's a puddle. I go into the puddle and the clay is like grease. Like driving on wet glass or ice. I can feel the trailer starting to move in the vehicle, so I get the vehicle through all right, but then because the trailer, both wheels were still on this slippery clay, as I pulled the vehicle out of it, the trailer literally slipped. And then as it came onto the high ground, it grabbed and then it jackknifed and then it just like having brakes, it just flipped over. So it just goes to show how careful you've got to be out here. 1 second everything's fine, and a minute later, I've got a major disaster. This bearing is crook, I've got to fix that. We're hundreds of kilometres from the nearest garage, the nearest welder. I've now got to try and winch this trailer over and see whether I can even tow it. This is a casualty of the accident, a tin of 2 fruits, and I certainly won't waste that. Now, I'm just resting for a few minutes, settling the nerves before I hook the trailer on, and hopefully I can keep going. It looks pretty bad here, but that can be cut off and straightened out in the darso. So I'm pretty sure everything's fine. Now, what can we learn from this accident? Well, obviously, if you're on a dry road with just the odd puddle, and you can see that the road's basically clay, would drive very slowly. Otherwise, your trailer or your caravan's going to end up like this. And as soon as I get back to Sydney, I'm going to fit anti-sway bars onto the trailer. And I suggest that if you're towing a trailer or a caravan in the Outback, before you leave, you put on anti-sway bars too. All through the Outback, you get these bores that the station owners have put in for their stock. Whatever you do, when you come to these bores, don't camp near them, because they're the lifeblood of the station. If you camp near the bore overnight, especially on a hot night, stops the stock from coming in for drink, and it stops the wildlife from coming in. So whatever you do, just use a bore, have a bit of a clean up, don't use soap, just have a clean up and then move on. You're going to camp around here. We'll camp 2 or 3 kilometres away from the bore. Another bog and another set of problems. Now I should be able to winch out of this, but if you're in the bush with your vehicle and you haven't got a winch, it's no use just spinning that tyre all the time because you just go further and further down into the mud. So I'll show you what to do. I have to get that vehicle right up out of the mud so I can get some timber and whatever else I can find in under that tyre, and then do this side. So I need a firm base for the jack, so get some of this timber. You should never go out in the bush without one of these. I carry 2, make it a lot easier. A jack-all jack, a kangaroo jack, call it what you like, but they're quite brilliant. So we get that under there, and we can lift that vehicle right up. Right. I'll just keep working the both jacks. Now you've got to be careful that the jacks don't slip and come back on you. I've got to get that right out of the mud. Now the secret of this exercise is slow and steady, because you don't want these jacks slipping out and knocking your leg or doing something unexpected. This one's on an angle now, but it's bedded in and it's jammed there on that front toe ball. Taking all the weight off that one, so now I can go back. And by using 2 jacks, I can get that vehicle right up. So just find that again. Away we go. Now you'll see how quickly this tyre is coming right up, almost level with the ground. Oh, look out, see what I mean? About how careful you've got to be. Second jack's okay, so we'll try again. Just go back here. Just level it up a little bit. Righto. Now. That tyre's right up out of the mud. So now I've got to pack bits of timber or whatever I can find under there. That'll give me a good base to get out. Now I'll do the other side. With the timber right under those tyres, I'll let the jacks down. Then I'll have to unhook my trailer, and then I should be able to drive out. So we'll just let these down slowly. If you don't have a winch, always carry a long rope for recovery work like this. I finally reached into Minka beside the Cooper's Creek. There's not much here except the hotel, the store, and the ruins of the old hospital. This is the famous Cooper's Creek. It flows inland to Lake Eyre. There we have one. This is just a bit of red meat for the fish. We've had quite a bit of rain, and the river's been running pretty well, or when I say the river, the Cooper's Creek's been running well. So the fish should be on the bite. And a bit of red meat is pretty good bait. Yeah, Bonnie, you can have that little bit. Okay, let's go into the feed. Getting a bite. Just get him out of this weed here. Now that's a nice little perch. Not very big, but they're beautiful eating. 3 or 4 of those makes a top feed. Here we are, some nice mud. I suppose you're wondering what I'm up to now. Well, I'll show you. These are the fish that I've just caught, and I haven't scaled them, I haven't cut them, I haven't taken the guts out. That's exactly as it came out of the river. Now what I'm going to do is get some of this mud here and take it back to the fire with the fish. Now this is my aluminium foil. You're out in the bush, you're stuck on the river, you can't go forwards, you can't go backwards because the rivers are up. So you're catching plenty of fish because they're on the bite, of course. Once the river comes up, you run out of foil. You've got no oil, so this is how you cook your fish. Plenty of mud. Okay, just a bit more. Now, we'll take that back to the fire, and I'll show you what to do next. Now, with all good camp cooking, I've let the fire go right down, so I've just got these hot coals. I'm going to make a hole right down in that hot sand there. Okay, I just put a couple of decent coals in the base there. Now, I take my fish with the mud batter, call it mud batter, and we're going to lay them in the fire there. There we are. 1, 2, number 3, and one more down here. Now you'll find that these fish are going to taste quite delicious. Right, a little bit more mud on the top. Now I'm going to put all that hot sand and coals back on top there, and I'm going to leave them there until they're ready. It could be 5 or 10 minutes or a little bit longer. Just come back in a little while and check that. Okay. That one's cooked. I've just pulled it out of the fire. You can see how it's got this coating of mud on it. This one in the middle, I've just pulled the mud off. So now you've got all this beautiful, very sweet, juicy flesh. This is a traditional way of cooking fish for a lot of Aboriginal people. And it's full of moisture, There's absolutely no sand on it. It's so sweet. Those fish are very fat. Now I'll just have a look at this one here before the sun goes down. Now we've got to just turn it around, and what I'll do is peel all the mud and skin off. Once I've taken the mud off, I can lift off the scales and the skin. And the mud has protected the scales and the skin from drying out and letting out all the moisture. I'm going to settle down now and have a really good feed. Here's another one of the dampers that I often cook straight in the coals. There we are. Just clean it off. It's okay. That looks pretty good. There we are. Cross onto the kitchen table. Once again, all the hot sand and the hot coals and the ash just fall off. Get rid of that little bit of burnt stuff on the top. I'll break it open so you can get my knife, I think. And you can see what it's like inside. There we are. Almost the perfect damper. Look at that. Right here's the end of the track. It's all been covered over by this loose sand from the recent flood. Behind me are two deep gutters, and I have to go through those gutters, and there's still about 1 metre of water in them. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate the procedure that I have to go through with the vehicle to successfully complete a deep water crossing. Now I have to get the fan belt disconnected because you don't want the fan spinning around and putting water all over the motor. Once I've done that, let's drop this for a second. I'm going to check that the air cleaner extension's okay, because you certainly don't want water getting into your air cleaner. So if you're in the outback and you're doing a lot of these crossings, you've got to put on this snorkel here. All right, now just get this fan belt off. Now it's important always to carry a good tarp. And tie the tarp right over the bonnet and right down the front there. And this tarp will act like a bulldozer blade as you're going through the water. The last job is to fit an extension to the exhaust. I just carry a piece of this tubing. I've had it pre-bent and just drop it on there, clamp it on, we're ready to go. Before any deep water crossing, be sure to check the depth of the water and make sure that there's a good sound bottom. This is my last box of matches, and it's wet. Let's assume that I've just been through a deep water crossing and everything's got wet, or somebody's left the last box of matches out, so we'll leave those out to dry. But it's cold and I want to get a fire going. Now, earlier on I showed you how you can start a fire very quickly with a battery and using a little bit of petrol. Now, if you are concerned about using the petrol, in case it flames up a bit, or you don't have petrol, you're out of fuel, you've got a diesel car, it's not so easy, you get a long piece of wire or two sections like I've got here, connect them onto your battery and short the wires across. And I'm going to do it through a piece of steel wool with a little bit of paper stuck in the middle there. Right, now we just put that there. I'm going to hold the wire with paper, gets a little bit warm. Now we just don't touch the wires together, just short it across the steel wool. There we are. Probably took me about 5 to 10 seconds to get that fire going. One last tip, don't forget to use your cigarette lighter if you want to light yourself a fire. You have to use your cigarette lighter a few times, that's why I'm doing it in the car. I've got some dry grass in the paper, so you've got to be ready to take it out of the car, of course, as soon as it's ignited. It's best not to rush it as it smoulders. Here it is, it's just about, yes, it's burst into flame now. Here we are. Right, get that out of the car, I think, fairly quickly. This is a fairly common occurrence in the bush, a deep sand bog. Now, if I spin those tyres anymore, the diff housing is going to sink right down in the soft sand, and I'm never going to get out. So I'm going to show you the really easy way of doing it. I've placed around the base of this tree this red cord rope. Always use that because if you use a metal rope, run that around the tree when you're winching, you may ring back the tree and kill it. So always use one of these snatch ropes. I've placed here a snatch block, a pulley, and I have another one of these down on the vehicle. So the winch will be 3 times more efficient now. So by using the 2 snatch blocks, plus me driving, plus the winch, I should be able to get out of this bad bog pretty easily. That was a particularly bad bog, so by using the winch and double snatch blocks, it was pretty easy to get out. If you do get stuck in the outback after heavy rains and you run out of food and you camped on one of these permanent water holes, you can always find something to eat just by getting in the water and running your hands down through the mud. You can find these freshwater mussels. They're everywhere. You just feel around and you find them feeding on the bottom. It's just a matter of picking them up. And when you've got about 20 or 30, you've got enough for a meal. The Aboriginal people used to cook these by simply placing them on the coals for a few minutes. They're pretty tough, they're pretty muddy, in fact they're pretty horrible. But if you're hungry, you can eat them. The other way is to get the smaller ones, open them up, take them out of the shell, boil them in the billy for about an hour, and make yourself a soup. Doesn't a disaster like this make you sick in the stomach? Just makes me wonder if they were carrying one of these. Never go out in the outback without your fire extinguisher. When you're travelling in the outback, everybody gets bogged, sooner or later. Now, I've just bogged the Land Rover behind me deliberately to show you how you can get out of a bog when there's no trees nearby to winch off. So what I have to do here is dig a large hole and bury the tyre right down in the hole. Then I can run the winch and fix it onto the tyre and pull myself out. Once the tyre's in the hole, just got a lever. I'll put that down under there. Now whatever that is to give the winch cable something to hook onto. So just get that in there. Now, that's right. Now I just have to fill it in. Now that I'm out of the bog, it's just a matter of getting the tyre out. So I'll take some of this dirt away and then I'll use the winch and the vehicle in reverse to pull it out. These stones have been left here, who knows, a long time ago by the long gone Aboriginal people. It's where somebody has been chipping the rock to make implements, scrapers, knives, that sort of thing. Here's the hard rock here. Looks like the hammer, and the hard rock is used to break off the soft rock. Now if you're stuck in the bush and you've lost your knife, or you need a knife, you can make a knife like this too. And I'll go down here and I'll show you how to do it. What you need is a hard rock and a softer rock, something that'll splinter. And the idea is to break off sections, and what you do is have a look at the rock, and when you see where you might be able to break it, you've got to, I want to get that sliver off there, so what I'm going to do is hit it from the top and it'll split from the bottom. There we are. Now just keep breaking your rock like so. Here's another. There we go. Now, righto, there we are. See, we've got what I'd call a reasonable stone implement. It's got this very sharp edge on it here. And I should be able to use that to skin a rabbit. Over here we've got a rabbit. Now, just hold him there. It's most unlikely, of course, that you'll be out in the bush without a knife. But if you do come out, or you lose your knife, come out here without a knife, well, get yourself a stone knife. There we are. Now, just get this off here. Just cut that through there, working very well. I'm now driving east through the deserts of northern South Australia. and I'm seeing the effects of too many rabbits. Most of their vegetation has been eaten out. The topsoil is blowing in the wind, and it's a very depressing sight. Here's a matter of survival that should concern everybody. It's the long-term survival of inland Australia. I've been driving for thousands of kilometres right across much of the outback, and in many areas there's huge populations of rabbits. You can see what they're doing here. They're stripping the bark right off the roots of these trees. Now, they'll climb the trees, they'll strip the foliage off. They eat from the ground up to this height where they can stand up on the back legs. They eat all the seeds, like the seeds of this acacia tree when they fall down. They eat the seed. And what really worries me is that there are no young trees growing. If a young tree does come up, the rabbits eat it out straight away. And when the seasons get dry, they dig up the roots and they eat all the bark off the roots. So eventually all the trees are dying. And if we don't do something about these huge populations of rabbits in the outback, eventually we won't have any trees left at all. Now, if you do break down in an area where there are a lot of rabbits and you are desperate for food, you can make up a snare very easily. It's just a matter of very fine wire, just a sliding noose, very short here on the top. Just tie it onto something and you just place it in the burrow. I know this burrow's working because you can see the footprints of the rabbit. Just set that there, and I just put a couple of sticks on each side that hold it in place and gives it more of a funnel effect for the rabbit to go in. Now, I don't suggest you do this unless you're really desperate for food. You've got to set quite a few because it's a bit of a hit and miss affair. But what happens, a rabbit runs in, or he runs out, and of course he gets caught like that, and the rabbit will die very quickly. Anyway, it's a very easy way of getting yourself something to eat if you're really desperate. And when you do catch your rabbit, drop him in the camp oven and put him on the coals. This is the border between South Australia and New South Wales. It's called the dingo fence. Whenever I'm travelling in areas like the Canning Stock Route or the dingo fence, I tie a pole to the vehicle, and at the top I tie a flag. And this enables people in other vehicles to see you a lot better. Over the years there's been some horrific accidents with people colliding at the top of sand dunes, because you're down in the hollow, and as you come over the top of the dune, the other vehicle can't be seen. So by running up a flag, it gives the other driver a lot better chance of spotting you. There are not a lot of rabbits on this side, but over that side of the fence in South Australia, they're running around everywhere. I've just cut back into South Australia to show you this dam. In this area, there's literally a huge plague of rabbits. In all my years travelling, I have never seen anything like this. It's an absolute disaster. Early this year, there were heavy rains all through this country, and there's been this incredible population explosion. Now there's little food left, and the younger ones have been rejected from their burrows, and there's been this mass migration east. And now they've been stopped by the dingo fence, and now they just sit and drink and sitting prop around this tank. As it gets hotter, most of these rabbits will die. But unfortunately, there will always be enough left, so as soon as it rains, they start breeding again. This is typical rabbit damage. There's little food left and they're now killing off the trees. It's a major ecological disaster. Hey, what are you doing there in the middle of the road? Hey, you'll get run over. Come on. Come on, you dopey thing. Now this is the shingleback lizard. See the heavy scales down the back? Like the shingles on a roof. People actually run over these things. They see them on the road and they tell me they actually run over them. Now that is the most inoffensive creature that you can find out here. He can't run fast. He's got these small rear legs, the little tiny front ones, the bobtail and the distinctive blue tongue. Within a couple of minutes of handling them, you can usually get them to eat. If you find these in the bush, you can give them a drink of water. They love tomato. I haven't got any tomato, but I'm giving him some 2 fruits. So just put him down there. I'll see if I give him a drink before I let him go. Now I'll give him some of this juice. He likes this juice. You can see that really long blue tongue working. Yeah? Look at that. Go away, little fly. What about a bit of this? I think he's had enough. It's time for me to let him go. These shinglebacks don't live in holes. They shelter under the bushes. So I'll just put him right there. And he'll be quite safe. Don't worry about this hole, that's just an old goanna hole. There we are. Always look out for windmills when you're short of water. There's usually an overflow from the tank. Now this tank's only recently been constructed and already the birds have found the water. When you're on the road all the time, it's essential to be able to set up camp and break camp very quickly. Although the dog inclines to hinder things a little bit. Out of it, boy. Go on, take my rope away then. Now you should always have a good swag. Good canvas swag made up. Now, because it's fairly warm, I only need a blanket or 2. And I've got my mosquito net all rigged up there, just a bit of a timber shaft, or you can tie it straight to a tree. There we are, all ready for a good night's sleep in about 15 seconds. If the vehicle does break down, what's the best thing to do? Well, the first thing is to get well covered. Long pants, boots, cover your arms, hat on. You can even get car oil and car grease and put it over all the exposed parts if you're inclined to sunburn. Doesn't matter what you look like, you just want to keep alive. Keep away from the vehicle until it cools down, then set yourself up some good shade. So we've got the swag, set that in there, something to put my feet on, then I can sit on this so I'm keeping my body off that hot sand. All I have to do now is to rig up some shade. With the shade in position, try and get into a comfortable position and remain still so you don't use any energy. Probably the most important aspect of surviving in the outback is your high-frequency radio. If you do break down, you can call for help through the flying doctor bases all over Australia. This is 6WWC Mobile calling VJB, Do you read me? This is 6WWC calling VJB, Do you read me? Over.